The footage you are seeing is of Russian cruise missiles striking a Ukrainian oil processing plant near the city of Kremenchuk. Now, this is one of Ukraine's largest oil processing facilities, and according to some sources, it is actually the only oil processing facility in all of Ukraine which was, up until now, still operable. Just to give you an idea of how large this oil processing plant is. According to Ukrainian sources, it was only operating at somewhere between 13 to 16% of capacity. And at that capacity, it was producing around 7,000 tons of fuel per day. But now, this oil processing plant has been taken out. That means that the Ukrainian military will not be getting any more steady supplies of fuel. Now, I've said this a million times before, and I will say it again. No modern military can operate without fuel. It doesn't matter how well motivated your soldiers are. It doesn't matter how well equipped they are or how well trained they are. If they don't have fuel, none of their motorized equipment works. Without fuel, a modern army cannot maneuver. That essentially means that all of these Ukrainian military units, which are cut off from one another, isolated and unable to communicate, will now be forced into their respective defensive positions, essentially just made to wait until the Russian military, which by the way retains all of its operational mobility, comes to all of these isolated Ukrainian military units one by one and annihilates them with the vastly superior numbers that they can bring to any one location. So this is where I have to once again ask all of these mainstream media outlets, which are collectively masturbating over the idea of Ukraine winning this war. Does this look like a military which is going to reclaim the Donbass and Crimea anytime soon? Does this look like a military which is going to march on St. Petersburg and Moscow, annihilating the Russian military and forcing the Russian soldiers to rout in every single confrontation and battle? The level of sheer delusion that has been reached by mainstream Western propagandists is truly mind-boggling. And I want the world to remember how over the course of the last several weeks, almost every single one of them has been talking about massive Ukrainian victories and Russian operational defeats. And yet here we are at a point where the Ukrainian military is facing such a crisis that within a few weeks to at most a few months, it will cease to be a modern functioning military altogether. By the way, I almost forgot to mention that just yesterday, a spokesperson of the Ukrainian presidential office made an announcement stating that Russia has destroyed pretty much all of Ukraine's military industrial capability. And once again, I would like to emphasize the fact that this is not coming from a Russian source. The part about Ukraine's military industry being destroyed is coming from a Ukrainian source. Specifically, it is coming from the most notable Ukrainian source, the Office of the President of Ukraine. That means that Ukraine will not be able to produce any more military equipment or even repair any equipment that has been damaged up to this point. So we are in a situation where the Ukrainian military cannot maneuver, does not have the ability to supply its forces with fuel, does not have the ability to produce more military equipment, or to repair the equipment that has already been put out of action. Now, going back to the strike of the oil processing facility for a second. The Russian Ministry of Defense stated in today's morning briefing that this facility was targeted by sea-based missiles, which strongly implies that Russia used Kalibr cruise missiles, which have a maximum range of 2,500 kilometers, and is essentially Russia's equivalent of the American Tomahawk cruise missile. These missiles struck oil storage containers, causing a massive fire to break out. That is to say that this facility, which was built in the early 1960s during the Soviet era and is massive in scale, has not been completely destroyed. However, all of the equipment which is required to produce and store fuel has been hit by half-ton explosives and will not be operating anytime soon. It also shows that Russia is continuing to use these long-range weapons every single day. All of this over a relatively small conflict, which the Ukraine war is when compared to a potential military confrontation with NATO. And that just strongly suggests that the Russians have massive stockpiles of these missiles. So the Russians will not be running out of ammunition or any fighting capability anytime soon. That's all I wanted to discuss for now. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked this analysis or found it informative, please leave a like and be sure to check out my backup Rumble channel. Or if you're already watching this on Rumble, be sure to check out my YouTube channel as well. In either case, link is in the video description below.